Advertising has been evolving from the beginning in all markets. Motorsports advertising and sponsorships are one area where we're able to see extreme changes take place in a relatively short time. In the beginning, sponsorships were few, and those that did exist usually related to the mechanics who built the car, the garage where they did it, or the local dealership the car originally came from. This trend continued over the years, with certain parts brands, spark plugs, motor oil, and the like also being painted onto a car to promote the products. In the 1950s, particularly in America, changes were starting to unfold. These changes were taking place and continue to take place across the entire realm of motorsports, from motorbikes to stock cars, dragsters to formula racers. This trend is most obvious and the most dynamic in America's NASCAR racing series. Looking at the NASCAR race car in the 1950s, there isn't much to distinguish it from a typical street car of the 50s. Of course, there are subtle differences, but the great similarities are what helped create the win on Sunday, sell on Monday philosophy that many manufacturers took to a motorsport endorsement. There are 2 or 3 sponsors on the side to reflect that a car uses a certain set of spark plugs or that they filled up at a Gulf station before the race, but that's really it. By the 1960s, these 2 sponsors had turned into 10. And by the 70s, primary sponsorships had shifted from colorful local businesses such as Smokey Yunick's Best Damn Garage in Town to large national businesses like STP or K&K Insurance, which was founded for racers. Even with these large companies, sponsorship was essentially only automotive brands or related to motorsports. By the 80s, however, more brands had entered the scene. Gatorade, Mountain Dew, Uno, Wrangler Jeans, and Folgers Coffee were some of the more prevalent names. And those 10 contingency sponsors? They were now up to 20. In the 90s, sponsorship diversified even more, including restaurants, internet providers, furniture stores, and home improvement shops. By the end of the decade, movies, children's TV shows, and candy were all involved. Today, we have all that, alongside video games and cross-promotion for other sporting events, to name some of the more interesting decals that are stuck to race cars today. Of course, this phenomenon isn't unique to NASCAR. Formula One racing in the 1970s followed the same arc, starting with automotive brands and moving towards more mainstream advertising as the decades passed. Formula racers also began hawking cigarettes, computers, and films. In fact, a 2004 promotion saw a pair of Jaguar F1 cars each fitted with a $250,000 diamond to promote the new Ocean's 12 film. The promotion went sour, however, when one car wrecked and its diamond went missing, never to be found. So why does this diverse advertisement take place? One contributing factor is technology. With TV coverage of most motorsports events in the world, global brands realized that they could reach a gigantic audience through motorsports. Plus, the win on Sunday, sell on Monday mantra still applies, only now it applies to colognes and cell phone apps. Another factor is one that has been expanded due to the prevalence of marketing in the motorsports world: the drivers. Drivers in any motorsport are some of the most articulate and well-groomed athletes in the world due to their extensive sponsorship obligations. The close associations of names and products helps both driver and sponsor alike. Names like Sebastian Vettel are synonymous with Red Bull, Michael Schumacher with Ferrari, Richard Petty with STP, and the list goes on. There's really no end in sight, as the motorsports arena is saturated with all different types of products and services. The sports continue to evolve, and sponsors are always ready to get international exposure. The current level of advertising in motorsports is definitely here to stay.